Hello everyone, today's date is 27/7/2024 and today we are going to discuss the daily newspaper analysis and let's look at the topics. So the first one being the Royal Burial Mounds of Assam, and now it is in the UNESCO's World Heritage List. So we will also see MCQs for this, and then the next topic being Agnipath will keep the force young. So for this also we will be seeing the MCQ, and this topic is from the Indian Express. And next is E2W 3W makers may face retest for FAME 3 scheme. This topic is about e-vehicles and this is from the newspaper Business Standard. And then we will be seeing SGBs, sovereign green bonds set to power agri-solar green H2 metro rail projects, and this is also from Business Standard. So the first topic is from the GS1 syllabus and the second, third and fourth is from the GS3 syllabus. Now we are going to see one interesting topic from art and culture, which is related to the Royal Burial Mounds of Assam from the UNESCO's World Heritage List. So this Charaideo Maidam is in Assam and it is a 700-year-old royal burial, which means kings and queens are buried under this burial. So it is of Ahom dynasty, also called as Thai Ahom community. So this is added as the 43rd World Heritage Site from India by the UNESCO, and we have to also note down that it is the first site from Northeast India and also from Assam to be recognized in the cultural category. So what is UNESCO? So UNESCO stands for United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, and we have to understand that they promote international cooperation in terms of education, science, culture, communication and information. Through this, they are contributing to the peace and security. This is the major thing. The main aim of UNESCO is to contribute peace and security through knowledge sharing and mutual understanding. So we have to know about this Charaideo Maidam. Meaning for this is that the prominent city on the hilltop in terms of Thai Ahom language. The nickname of the Charaideo Maidam is the Pyramids of Assam, because the pyramids also are nothing but royal burials similar to this Charaideo Maidam. So it's a sacred burial grounds for Ahom kings and queens. If we see the picture, it is very similar to this, the Hobbit of the Lord of Rings movie. So we also will see the recent addition to the World Heritage List in 2023. Similar to the great living temples of Cholas, the Hoysalas of Karnataka also have 3 temples added to the list. One is Chennakeshava Temple, which is in Belur. This is of 1116 AD timeline, and the temple is dedicated to Lord Vishnu. So what is the important thing about this temple is that it has intricate sculptures related to epics and mythology like Ramayana and Mahabharata. Next is Hoysaleswara Temple in Halebid, and it is dedicated to Lord Shiva. It has a walled complex with Jain temples and a stepped well. Next is Keshava Temple. It is in Somnathapura and it has Trikuta Temple of Lord Krishna. Next is Santiniketan in West Bengal, and it is founded by Debendranath Tagore in 1862. It is the meaning of Shanti Niketan is the abode of peace. So we know Shanti means peace, so it is the abode of peace. Renowned educational and cultural hub with the focus on art, culture and nature, and it is a home to Vishwa Bharati University today. So we will discuss a question related to this topic. Consider the following statements about UNESCO World Heritage Properties in India. Recently, India's nomination of Charaideo Maidam has been inscribed on UNESCO's World Heritage List, and India now has overall 43 World Heritage inscriptions with 35 cultural, 7 natural and 1 mixed site. So what is the answer? The answer is both 1 and 2 are right. So 43 World Heritage inscription. Just now I mentioned that this Charaideo Maidam is the 43rd World Heritage Site, and the second statement is right. And first is the India's nomination. Charaideo Maidam has been inscribed in the UNESCO's World Heritage List. Now let's discuss about this Agnipath scheme. So why are we discussing today? Recently, our Prime Minister has praised this Agnipath scheme. So what is this Agnipath scheme is about? So the major aim of Agnipath scheme is to recruit non-commissioned personnels as soldiers, airmen and sailors, and their term is just 4 years, and about 25% of Agniveers will be commissioned on permanent platform based on merit. So what is the eligibility? The eligibility is from 17.5 years to 21 years, and we have to know that it is open to women also, but one condition is that there is no reservation for women. This will be somewhere asked in UPSC definitely. Recently, after seeing reservation for women even in terms of Lok Sabha and state legislative assembly, we might commit a mistake, and please note down that there is no reservation for women in Agnipath scheme. And what is the payments and benefits? So first is, if there is any death on duty, the family will be supported with an amount of rupees 1 crore, and if there is any disability, the person will be supported up to 44 lakhs in Indian rupees. So there is no regular pension after 4 years, but there is an exemption for this 25% permanent commission who are selected from this Agnipath soldiers. And what is the major goal and why we are recruiting temporary force? The first one being, we wanted to reduce the average age, which is 32 now, to 26 years with the help of this Agniveers. And we also want to reduce the number of permanent soldiers because it will cut the pension expenditure. When the armed force is permanent, the bill of pension is also very high for the ministry. But there are issues with respect to Agnipath. What are those? The first one being, there is no gratuity or pension after 4 years. This Agnipath scheme is where the soldiers are pledging their life, but after 4 years they don't have any part of security. Second is that the 4-year term is inadequate for long-term training. Let's say 1 year is of training and the service is only for 3 years. For 3 years of service, they will definitely spend time and money for this 1 year of training. Next is, the age limit is actually excluding potential recruits who are even above 21 years of age. And there is a limited absorption of just 25 years, which will actually increase the unemployment, because after 4 years, the Agniveers are actually unemployed. Next is, this is also pursued as a politically motivated scheme, and it is also prioritizing financial savings over the long-term force building, because when the soldiers are on line, it is more of a question of loyalty and security rather than the financial savings. So what can be the reforms? What should we suggest? The first one is, we should increase the service period from 4 years to 7 to 8 years. And next is, the permanent retention quota should be increased to 60 to 70% from 25%. And we should also include contributory pension, gratuity and ex gratia also. Next is, we should implement robust skilling and resettlement programs and the raise in the educational requirements from 10 to +2, because for certain training, for certain skilling, we need certain qualifications also. And we should introduce a rigorous national entrance exam, because introducing the national entrance exam will help us to find more potential personnel. Now let's discuss the MCQ related to this topic. So what is the question? First is, consider the following statements about the Agnipath scheme. The first point being, the Ministry of Defence manages the scheme for military recruitment in Indian Army, Navy and Air Force. The second point is, the scheme aims to modernize the military with a younger, high-tech and modern outlook. And third point is, the Seva Nidhi package is exempted from the income tax. So what is the answer? Let's see. The answer is, all the three statements are right. The Ministry of Defence is actually responsible for the recruitment, and the Seva Nidhi package actually is having an income tax exempt. This is very important, because whenever we study about any monetary benefit based scheme, we should look into that if it is having an income tax exempt. One very good example is Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, where the savings is actually having an exempt from this Income Tax Act. Now we will be discussing a topic called as FAME 3. So what is FAME? And we will be also talking about E2W, 3W, what are these segregations and what is this topic about. So first we should understand what is FAME. FAME stands for Faster Adoption and Manufacturing of Electric Vehicles. So this is a government subsidy scheme under the National Electric Mobility Plan. It is a centrally sponsored scheme and it is under the Ministry of Heavy Industries and the Department of Heavy Industry. So the major aim is to promote electric and hybrid vehicle adoption in India. So this FAME has three phases. The first phase being introduced in 2015 and the budget is of 895 crore. And the second phase is from 2019 to 2024 and the budget is almost 10,000 crore. And now the phase 3 will start post July, that is after 31st July, and it is under the Electric Mobility Promotion Scheme from the ministry. So what are the categories of vehicles under this FAME? So the first one being e-bus. So e-bus stands for electrical bus, and the second one is e-two-wheeler. So we know what is two-wheeler, mostly the bikes are called as two-wheeler. Next comes the e-four-wheeler. So it can be cars or any other form of transportation that has four wheels. And next is e-three-wheeler. This includes e-rickshaws, e-carts, etc. So today we are seeing many form of e-carts in the roads today. So what is a legal framework? So all eligible vehicles must be registered under the Central Motor Vehicle Rule of 1989, and then the four focus area of FAME is that the first one being technological development, and next is generating the demand, then next is piloting projects and building charging infrastructure. Because let's say many people are buying e-vehicles, but where do they charge it? Today let's see the fossil fuels. Almost for within 1 kilometer you have at least one fossil fuel filling stations. But are we seeing many building related to this charging infrastructure? That's a very big question. And is there a demand now? Even today many are preferring for fossil fuel based technologies, and there are various reasons for that, and one is the technological development. So the focus area of FAME is to address these four priorities and the people fastly adopting to the e-vehicles. So what is the scheme objectives? So let's see about that. First is converting 30% of transportation to e-vehicles by 2030. The first thing about e-vehicle is there is no exhaust. That is a major reason we are trying to shift to e-vehicle, and also reduced dependency on fossil fuels. The first one, I am repeating, the first one being zero exhaust from the vehicles, and second one being reduced dependency on fossil fuels. These are the two major objectives of this scheme, and through that 30% of transportation should be converted to electric by 2030. And we also should increase the battery capacity, because higher the battery capacity, longer the travel of the vehicle being. Next is we also have to introduce innovative rules to promote electric vehicles, because certain rules that are involved in fossil fuels might not be used for this e-vehicles. Like let's say we have an exhaust test to understand the quality of vehicle, but coming to the electric vehicle we must analyze the battery life to avoid any further accidents or any further damage, etc. There are certain concerns related to this e-vehicles. Let's see what are those. The first one is there is more focus on manufacturing even though there is less demand in the market. This will lead to more loss for the producers. And next is disincentive for smaller electric vehicles due to battery size linked incentive. So what happens is that even for the vehicles which are having lesser battery, there is lesser incentive which will lead to reduced credibility among people. Next is 95% of current e-two-wheelers are ineligible for FAME 2 incentives. That is one criteria and one concern. Next is local production requirement of 50% for the scheme benefits is needed. So let's discuss the question related to this article. So regarding the FAME 2 scheme of India, consider the following statements about e-vehicles. The e-Amrit is a web portal for creating awareness about the electric vehicles mobility in India. Second statement is Karnataka is the first state to launch e-vehicle policy in India. Under FAME, e-vehicles come under the Motor Vehicles Act of 1988. So what is the answer? The answer is 1 and 2. So why is this an issue? Is because just now we saw that the eligibility criteria is that the Central Motor Vehicles Rules of 1989, not the Central Motor Vehicle Act of 1988. It's under the rules of 1989. So this is about this article. Now let's discuss a topic on sovereign green bonds. So energy infra ministries have sought a fund of 32,000 crores for funding green energy, energy transition and transit development projects through sovereign green bonds. So this topic is about that. So what are green bonds? See, green bonds are financial securities, and by the term sovereign we should understand that whenever we see a term sovereign, it means it is something issued by the government. So now we are actually purchasing the bond from the government. So generally bonds are financial securities issued by either governments or companies to raise funds for the projects. So when it is issued by the government, it is called as sovereign bonds. And talking about green bonds, in general green bonds specifically are collecting the capital for sustainable development projects. So the sovereign green bonds, when we add all these terms, it means that it is a green bond issued by the government to collect fund for sustainable development projects. And the bond is issued by RBI and it is managed by the public debt cell of Ministry of Finance, and the audition is done by the CAG, that is Comptroller and Auditor General of India. So what are the features of sovereign green bonds? So talking about the features, first is the bonds are eligible for repurchase transaction and the holder can actually sell the sovereign green bonds, which means that the sovereign green bond is an asset. Let's say I am having a jewelry of gold. So the gold, usually what all I can do, I can either pledge it or I can sell it, both I can do. So if I pledge, I will buy a loan. If I sell, I will get an final amount. The same can be actually done with the sovereign green bonds, because sovereign green bond itself is an asset. So next is, it is issued through uniform public auction and it is classified under the statutory liquidity ratio by the RBI, so that the bonds can purchase sovereign green bonds at statutory liquidity ratio. And the benefits of green bond being that it will boost the sustainable development goals and it will aid the net zero goal within 2070. Next is, it is attracting investors and it will also strengthen our currency. Next is, it has lower risk compared to other type of corporate green bonds, because it is issued by the government, the security is even higher. Next is, it enhances India's global climate leadership. So India aspiring to become the global leader, especially inside this climate criteria, this sovereign green bond will be a great support to us. Next is, there are certain challenges to the sovereign green bonds, and what are those? Let's say the lower interest rate will be present compared to the regular bonds. So this is the math always. When the risks are higher, the returns are also higher. When the risks are lower, the returns usually is also lower. So in that case, the risk being less because it is issued by the government, the interest rate is also less. There is also a risk of greenwashing. What is this greenwashing? So greenwashing is a term where it is used when someone is faking sustainability. So for example, we see a company's ad which shows that zero animals are used for testing, or there are no environmentally harmful chemicals. All these are called as greenwashing. And it also requires careful project prioritization and alignment and the lack of investors' awareness. Many people do not know that there is green bonds, and sometimes it will also lead to the misuse of these bonds. So what can be the suggestion? We have to expand the scope of sovereign green bonds through awareness and incentives, like any tax exemptions or creating any special programs to make the people understand that there is something called as sovereign green bonds, etc. We should also increase the transparency and accountability so that it will lead to lessened misuse or greenwashing issues. Emphasize sustainable development as a necessity. So we, India, being moving from the path of growth to development, and today we are moving from development to sustainable development. So for this green bonds will be definitely our great support. Now let's discuss the MCQ related to this topic. Consider the following statements. The sovereign green bond can strengthen the currency. Second point is, the sovereign green bonds cannot be traded in the secondary market. So now let's guess what is the answer. The answer is one only. I just told now that the sovereign green bonds are actually asset which can be treated like any other form of asset. Obviously, it can be traded in the secondary market either to be sold or purchased, or it can be also pledged to acquire any form of loans. And sovereign green bond will definitely strengthen the currency because this is a bond of the government, and any such bonds which will support the government's fiscal policy will strengthen the currency. If you like this video, please like this video and comment if there is any doubts you have, and then share the video, and please do not forget to subscribe because you will be getting the notification of further videos. Thank you.